Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my precious pack, and welcome back once more to Vega Conflict. Before I get into this video, I actually want to say something. All of what I will be bringing up in this video is all from my personal experiences and or views of gaming in general, and more specifically with Vega. With that said, the reasons for why do I not recommend Vega to anyone I know. It's inconsistent or poor quality gameplay for the starters, and here's some of the reasons why. The AI within the game makes each fight difficult to replicate, even with perfect actions carried out by the players due to the AI's behavior. You could repeat the same thing a million times over and you'd have a partially different result every single time. And that dictates how much repair time you get. Imbalance within the game leads to inconsistent fights, as every fight is different and unpredictable. This applies to PvE and PvP. Due to the inconsistency from fights that shouldn't vary as much as they do, play sessions are inconsistent as well. Meaning each session would be varied enough that each player's experience may be vastly different even though they're doing the exact same thing. I do want to bring up the drop rates in the game. They can be so varied that it's not possible to truly give an exact average, which means you can't truly account for how long you may need to put time into the game for something as simple as a reusable item. Sad, right? We're just getting started, just wait. The overall quality of the game from a grand standpoint, from my perspective, seems subpar compared to other games I've played over the decade. It's pretty sad. Poorly thought through game mechanics, unstable connections, and further coding related issues, I'm looking at Victus when you launched, buddy, themselves have presented themselves many times before, but I never talk about them or anything like that, even though they do affect me as well as everyone else. Each of which lead to a poor player experience. With each player having the potential of a vastly different experience, you can't consistently say that each one's going to be the same. You're going to have similar experiences, but the primary experiences, as you play through the game, you're going to start to see them more and more, which, it's sad, really it is. And that brings me to my next subject, the way the game is monetized. I don't play many MMOs because I have my own personal reasons to disapprove of them existing at all, but some have quaint traits that make them unique enough to pay for. Vega isn't one of those games though, in my eyes, because I only have ever liked one aspect of the game that I've ever brought up before. That's being the aesthetic of the game. The aesthetic itself is the only major thing that's appealing to me. If the gameplay isn't appealing to me, well, that's mainly the reason I just don't like logging in all that often. And why so many of the videos, they sound like I'm tired more often than not. The ways Vega tries to monetize itself that I don't agree with are fairly quick and easy to state. First is the repair system within the game. When I first began playing, it was completely foreign to me and made no sense from my personal standpoint, having come from games like Total Annihilation, StarCraft, Command & Conquer, Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. The list just goes on and on. The fact that ships had a repair time applied over a base value due to equipment it always turns me away from the game. But it is worse than that in my eyes, that you can actually pay to buy coins, which in turn allows you to bypass the repair time. I wouldn't have an issue with this if the value is actually a decent one. But with quite a few different repair times of different ships being combined to equal your fleet total, it can reach upwards of 1 day in time, if not more. The cost to repair that in my local currency is over $5. That fleet could be destroyed extremely easily and extremely often. And that's going to be $5 each time you want to pay for it. That's not appealing at all to me. It's one of the reasons I don't pay to play the game. Which is also where my mindset of soaking up repair time and then logging out comes from. It didn't just appear out of nowhere, it came from the game itself. Next up is the pricing of their ship deals. More often than not, they're overpriced. For the same price, I can get most of the content in the store. I could feed for the content I get in the store. I could feed myself for nearly an entire week for the price of a single ship that they are selling, that may or may not be obsolete, or of a poor quality without markup grades. And on the subject of markup grades, they can be purchased as well, and to the tune of what would be the equal price of about 2 or more fully priced video games depending on the games. I could list a bunch of Steam games if I wanted to right now for the price of an ongoing deal in Vega, and it just doesn't really make sense to me at all. If this is the way they monetize the game, they haven't tried to change it. Since I started playing, they've added different ways, but I mean, it's still pretty sad. And I don't understand why they wish to make content so expensive within their game. But it is, again, one of the reasons I don't recommend it to anyone that I know. I find the practice to be quite repulsive at the very least, and downright disgusting at the most, because, one, not everyone's going to have the time, so other people may see that value and think, oh, well, we can just drop this money. They shouldn't need to do that, though, because if your game is built around a certain core that it's meant to be, that people have to pay when they don't have time, that's just, they shouldn't be playing a game in the first place. Simple as that. Finally is the behavior I've seen from the dev team. Now this one actually is going to be interesting for quite a few of you. I say that actions speak more clearly and much louder than words do, and that could not be more true here. I've always listened in on what the development team has to say, and to that I have to say that I'm deeply disappointed with each and every single one of you that isn't a part of the art team, because it's sad. You're a disappointment to me because I'm a gamer, and whenever I hear the word or name development team, I always think, oh, they're working behind the game, they're doing something. While you are doing something, without going into specifics, many people have brought up varying concerns, and their concerns are validated, many of which I fully agree with. Even if those people and I have different views of the game entirely based solely on our experiences we've been through in the game, the one thing that is always a connection is the disapproval towards the development team's actions, and how they handle certain questions and concerns. Personally, I find that simply trying to ask for some information to at least put concerns at ease only makes the concerns worse, as there is either no definite answers for the concerns, or the answer is largely a disappointment. I've said that before directly to Shadow, that a response was a disappointment, that the response was not appropriate or something like that. It's just, it seemed like it was just, I don't know how to describe it other than as a disappointment. Though the before is more regularly occurring of the two, though, and that being that they poorly handle how certain questions and concerns are when people bring them up. They could handle it more carefully, and instead of replying immediately, they should take some time to think on it and consider it, because some of the concerns are extremely valid and they relate to a day-to-day playstyle and session. And I find that the interactions that do occur with the dev team or the leader are always so brief or lacking in regards to certain concerns and questions. And this just disturbs me, as I want to know where the game is leading. But I don't want to run on anymore with this video. I'll be more than content to talk about this further in the comment section, so all you have to do is just start a conversation. I'll be more than happy of hopping on board. And to summarize everything in short in just one sentence: the interactions with the dev team are often too brief to actually answer a valid question or a concern. The game itself I don't see as being worth monetizing, because I see it as being too time consuming, and every single subject I listed above is just a few small reasons why. Ultimately there's more, and this is just a cut down version of the video. And as for the actual gameplay experience itself, it does have gameplay there, but it's very, very hastily ruined by how they've set it up. In my eyes, they have a good game, but at the same time, they're running it in the wrong direction. That's going to be in my pack. Be safe out there, happy hunting, and as always, I'll see you later.